Why does Hanafi jurisprudence seem to contradict the apparent meaning of hadith? Why are there so many objections raised against the Hanafis? This is an old issue. Those who never met Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, used to object that he went against the hadith. But those who met him were satisfied. Look, there are some differences in principles. Some jurists have the principle of taking the apparent meaning of hadith. The Ahl Hadith school of thought among us follows this same principle. That is why the Ahl Hadith and Hanbali jurisprudence since Saudi Arabia mostly follows Hanbali fiqh are quite close. The reason is that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's view was to take the apparent meaning of hadith. Whereas in Hanafi jurisprudence, the apparent meaning of hadith is not taken as it is. They have established a complete order for it. That first comes the mutawatir hadith and the Quran. If a hadith is not mutawatir, even if it is sahih, if it contradicts a mutawatir source, then that hadith is interpreted ta'wil lahul. So it seems that way. Let me give an example. It comes in hadith many times. I have given this example in a lecture, but it is a simple example, so it is easy to explain. It is mentioned in hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, also passed a verdict based on a single witness. Let me explain with a simple example. I claim that this person took 100,000 rupees from me and did not return them. Right? He says he never took them. 100,000 rupees. I am claiming that he took 100,000 rupees. Now what does Sharia say? It is my responsibility to provide two witnesses. I will present two witnesses. Brother, two witnesses are testifying that he took 100,000 rupees from me. You understand? What will he say? If I present witnesses, the court will decide in my favor. If I do not present witnesses, then Sharia tells him to take an oath that I do not recall. Taking 100,000 rupees from the Mufti, then he will take that oath. This is the issue in Sharia. Now, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Imam Shafi, may Allah subhanahu have mercy on them, say that if I cannot present two witnesses, I can present one witness and take an oath, and my oath will act as the substitute for the second witness, meaning presenting two witnesses is not strictly necessary. Instead, I present one witness that he took 100,000 from me, and I take an oath as the second witness, swearing by God that he took 100,000 rupees. So this oath will become an alternative to a witness. Then I do not need to present a second witness. Imam Abu Hanifa or the Hanafis say that no, two witnesses must be presented. If I present two witnesses, the verdict will be in my favor. If two witnesses are not presented, a verdict cannot be given based on one witness. Now here, the hadith seems to go against the fiqh. Apparently, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Imam Shafi argue that, brother, it is authentic. There is a hadith in Bukhari that one companion gave a verdict against another companion. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, judged and delivered a verdict in favor of the claimant based on one witness and one oath. The person who made the claim presented one witness and took an oath. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, ruled in favor of the one who made the claim. So they say if two witnesses were necessary, the Prophet would not have asked them to take an oath. Now when common people hear this hadith, they say, look, Imam Abu Hanifa didn't know the hadiths of Bukhari. He didn't know the hadiths of Muslim. The hadith didn't reach him. Or all these Hanafis are against the hadiths. Brother, when you go into depth, you will realize that Imam Hanifa has interpreted this hadith. The reason is that this hadith is apparently against the Quran. In reality, hadith is not against the Quran. It just appears to be against it to us. The Quran says, O you who believe, when you contract a debt. The longest verse in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah explains the entire accounting of transactions. Whenever you deal with money, make two people witnesses, two men. And the Quran says, then two men, and if there are not two men, then one man, then one man and two women. Two women, so that if one forgets, the other may remind her, because the tendency to forget is higher in them. So Imam Hanifa says that if one witness is enough, then what is the meaning of this Quranic verse? The Quran is stating that for transactions, two witnesses are established so that the testimony of two is accepted. Less than two will not be accepted. And as for what comes in the hadith that the Prophet, peace be upon him, ruled based on one witness and one oath from the claimant, this is a specific incident. One interprets the specific incident rather than the Quranic verse that states a general rule in the Holy Quran. So now, various interpretations have been made regarding this specific incident as to why the Prophet decided this way. The best interpretation of this is that, look, demanding a decision based on two witnesses is the right of the person against whom the claim is made. He can say, brother, bring two witnesses. If there aren't any, then I do not accept. But if the person against whom the decision was made agrees to it, then he is consenting to one witness, right? I will give you an example of this. I claim that he took 1 lakh rupees from me. He is saying I did not take them. Someone came between us to mediate the decision. Sometimes it happens that they say, brother, you don't have witnesses. No, Mufti Sahab, just take an oath and I will withdraw my claim. So in such instances, a decision is made, not just on witnesses, but on an oath too, because the opposing party has no objection. So we say that when the Prophet ﷺ decided this one witness and one oath, the defendant remained silent, the one against whom the claim was made, as if he accepted this oath, saying, okay, there is one witness, so for the second witness, let there be an oath. So this is a specific incident where the person against whom the claim was made agreed to waive his right. This is just a single specific incident. This is not a general rule. The rule remains that it is his right to say, I am not satisfied with the other oath. Let a witness be brought. Do you understand? Allama Kamal Haq has made a slight jab at the Hanafis here. He has a book, a truly excellent book. It is studied by those becoming Mufti. He wrote that when the Prophet ﷺ made a decision based on one witness and one oath, it is not permissible for any Hanafi Mufti to blindly follow Abu Hanifa and say, no, two witnesses are necessary. So Allama Zafar Ahmad Usmani wrote a response to this in Ayla al-Sunan, with due respect to Kamar, that we could also demand from you. We could also argue that when the Quran has decided that two men are necessary, it is not permissible for any Mufti to make a decision based on one witness and one oath. This style of argument could be ours as well. Therefore, if you go deep, everyone has their evidence. Imam Shafi'i is also following the evidence. Imam Ahmad is also following the evidence. Imam Hanifa is also following the evidence. But the principles of each person are what compared to the others? Different. The intention of everyone is the same. Therefore, those who are scholars know that Imam Ahmad must have interpreted that verse of the Quran in a certain way. He surely must have. That is why he accepted that hadith. Then the Hanafis emphasize that the decisions of the rightly guided caliphs should be followed. We do not find any example in the era of the rightly guided caliphs where a verdict was given based on a single witness. Islam became established in a proper way during the era of the rightly guided caliphs. And we never find any instance where a verdict was based on just one witness. Let me give you another simple example. It comes in the hadith that al-mutabayani, the two parties in a transaction have the right to cancel the deal as long as they have not parted ways. Do you understand? The apparent meaning of this hadith suggests that if I sold this mobile to him for 100,000, and he said, I have bought it, then it is done. What happens to this deal? According to Imam Abu Hanifa, it is now finalized. It can be cancelled only with the mutual consent of both parties. It cannot be cancelled without the consent of both. Whereas the apparent meaning of the hadith suggests that the two parties involved in a sale, each of them has the option. So it seems they have the choice to cancel the deal. And the narrator of this hadith is Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. Whenever he engaged in a transaction, he would immediately walk away so that the deal would become finalized. Do you understand? Now a question arises here as well. Why does Imam Abu Hanifa say that once it is done, it is done, it is done? An agreement can be terminated with the consent of both. It cannot be done without the consent of both. What is the reason? He says that the Quran states, O you who believe, fulfill your contracts. O believers, fulfill your agreements. So when an offer and acceptance take place in a sale, it is also an agreement. Now, it cannot be reversed without the consent. They made the Quran the foundation. It is just a verbal commitment, isn't it? Once it is done, it is finished. What meaning did they give to the hadith? They explained the hadith as meaning that the two parties have the option to accept or reject as long as they have not parted ways. What does that mean? I made an offer that I sold you this mobile. If he immediately says I bought it, then it belongs to him. But what if I sold these and then the gathering ended? He comes and says, I bought it. Now that right has ended for you. It is just like what happens in a marriage ceremony. The qazi says to the groom, I have performed the marriage of so-and-so to you. He says to the prospective groom, I have performed the marriage of so-and-so to you. If he says I accept, right then, it is done. But if he gets up and goes to his uncle's place and comes back the next day saying, I accept, it won't be valid now. Now the proposal must be made all over again. You understand? So he has that right, and they say this principle applies to marriage as well. It also applies to buying and selling. It applies to all types of contracts. If an offer is made to someone, it must be accepted in that same gathering to be valid. If the gathering changes, then the offer must be made anew from the beginning. You understand? So although it may seem contrary to the apparent meaning, they haven't interpreted the hadith without reason. They said that agreements must be fulfilled. And in matters of trade, Imam Hanifa's principles are the ones prevailing worldwide today. Even in banking everywhere else, because people would face immense difficulties if the gathering restriction were enforced. Imam Malik also holds the same opinion as Imam Hanifa. He also says that the option would be terminated immediately. Once the agreement is made, it is finalized. It cannot be changed now. He also provides an interpretation of the hadith. And in today's era, it is simply impossible to practice otherwise. You have to do it that way, because even the Shafi'i scholars follow Hanafi jurisprudence in matters of trade. Even the Arab scholars, Hazrat Mufti Tariq Usmani, stated that 90% of the banking system follows Hanafi fiqh in matters of qaida, in matters of trade, whether they are Shafi'i or Hanbali. So, the skepticism people have toward Imam Hanifa is due to a lack of knowledge. Therefore, remember one principle. All four Imams are on the truth. They all have their proofs. Follow one. And don't get skeptical just by hearing someone else's argument from here or there. Everyone established principles based on what they understood to be best. Regarding Imam Shafi'i, he gives equal value to both khabar wahid and khabar mutawatir. Do you understand or not? What is written here? What? Look, it is our belief that the Dajjal will come. However, my advice is that in this day and age, you should not read books on the Dajjal. Scholars have written them, and they are righteous scholars, but those topics are beyond people's mental capacity. I have not seen a single person who read books on the Dajjal and didn't lose their mind. There isn't a single patient or person who has read books on the Dajjal and remained normal. Those books are correct. I am not calling the books wrong. But some things become something else when they reach the public. They go beyond the public's level, then the public's mind starts racing on its own. They even start thinking, this bright light, is this Dajjali? Is this a Dajjal? Is this bright light? And this camera, what is it? It's a Dajjal. And eventually they even start considering their own wives to be the Dajjal. Meaning this marriage of mine to this woman was also arranged by Dajjali dogs. And those Dajjali dogs are the ones creating obstacles in my second marriage. Do you think this is a joke? I have seen many people lose their minds from reading books on the Dajjal. So I have started telling people not to. Rather, it is our faith and conviction that the Dajjal will come. There could be no two opinions about this. And he will come as a great tribulation. He will be killed at the hands of Jesus, son of Mary. That is enough for now. Now, when will he come? Where will he come? Leave it, don't get into this debate. You understand? Regarding this debate, a gentleman told me he had prepared 20 gigabytes of data on the Dajjal. I said such a long amount of data on the Dajjal cannot even exist. Whatever is mentioned in the hadith would barely fill a few megabytes. So I told him, this seems like Dajjali work to me, that you have prepared 20 gigabytes of data. The Dajjal must have made you do this. A normal person cannot do this work. I asked him what his field was. And he was retired. He was some army officer I knew. I said, just do your own work, man. Why did you start writing books on the Dajjal? Then I said, no one is going to read that. And if they do read it, they will go crazy. So my advice is, and I hope no scholars object to me for telling people not to read about the Dajjal, to just let it be. Look, I know the public mood, and I have seen how many people have gone crazy. I have seen it practically. We consider Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, R.A., our spiritual guide. We consider him our elder. We also defend him. Some of his books on Sufism are perfectly fine. But people went crazy after reading those books. My Shaykh Hazrat Mufti Rashid Ahmad R.A. used to strictly forbid it. Hazrat Hakim al-Ummah, I am not naming the book. It is not in my mind right now, and even if it were, I would not name it. Because whatever people are told to avoid, they go straight to the market to buy it. So I heard from my Shaykh that he used to say, such and such book by Hakim al-Ummah exists. It is on Sufism. It is beyond the mental level of people. He said many people went crazy after reading it. They would say, I am at the 17th or 18th stage of spiritual journey. My state of being is this. They go weirdly crazy. Absolutely not. So not everything is meant for everyone to read. Therefore, do not read books on Dajjal. People lose their minds so much because of this. They have lost it so much. Someone I know, I hope he doesn't realize I'm talking about him, though he's so far gone he won't even realize it. He was a good, decent man. I won't mention his profession, or he might realize I'm talking about him. Whenever I went to Jamiat Turshid, I would sit with him, and then one day I saw he had completely gone mad. He was selling all his property because the Dajjal is coming. Everything. I said he's ruining his life. Then things got so bad. A man had a perfectly good job at a Nestle company, or rather not a job. It was his own business. You know, like taking a franchise or opening a branch. A bearded man. This happened in 2011. A righteous man, his business was running very well. He used to support religious schools quite well too. My friendship with him started because he supported madrasas a lot. He read some book on Dajjal, closed his company, and said this Nestle belongs to Dajjal and they are adding germs into it to stop reproduction. He shut down his entire business, and then poor guy ended up on the streets. Then he says, man, this Nestle is Dajjal. I said, it's just a company. It has nothing to do with the Dajjal. It's like any other multinational company. It has absolutely no connection to the Dajjal. You can object to a company if its prices are high or if you think the water isn't healthy. Like all these waters coming out nowadays, they remove all the minerals. Then they add artificial things, so make a medical objection from a doctor, a valid doctor. Don't just fire aimlessly. If there is a valid objection, then make it. If not, then don't. Otherwise, you can object to many companies like that. And even if we assume that water is harmful to health, then is this government tap water being supplied by angels? That seems like a Dajjali thing to me. Dogs are bathing in the water that reaches us, or someone is performing a ritual bath. It's just a normal bath. No one objects to that. Dogs and cats are bathing in it. Well, that water is filtered before it comes to us. It doesn't come directly like that. So the poor guy shut down his entire company. He closed this franchise or whatever branch he had opened. He just blew it up thinking it was all Dajjal. They even see Dajjal in farm chicken. Actually, women have gone more crazy reading these books. Just leave it. Live a normal life like human beings. Keep it simple. As for the Dajjal coming, he will come when he comes. To be saved from the Dajjal, our Prophet ﷺ taught us to recite Surah Al-Kahf to be safe from his trials. It's something to do on Friday. You should do it. It's a good thing. You can also do it on Thursday night. Just keep it to that. Don't go deeper into it. Is spreading obscenity via Hollywood and social media just business? Or is it a satanic agenda? What should our system be in response to this? It is a satanic agenda. What else could it be? So what should we do? We should share the speeches of scholars or documentaries that are beneficial or vlogs that help people or things that help people in this world, like medical information. Like a clip from a reliable doctor on YouTube. When I get a clip from a good doctor with healthy advice, I also pass it on. When you spread things like that, the solution to media is through media itself, right? Is the Illuminati really running the world, or is it just Muslims doing everything? Don't get too caught up in this either. People even get into things like claiming he is this or he is that. Take his shirt off and you'll see a mark on his back. Will anyone ever take their shirt off in front of you? There was a famous guy on YouTube, actually I won't take his name. Someone said he is an Illuminati guy and he is like this. You could never make him take his shirt off, just see who would take their shirt off. in front of anyone. Someone's mind says, Mufti Sahab, just look. He has that mark on his back. Leave it, man. Focus on doing the work that matters in your practical life.